to the Tavern Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor of the Tenkar's Tavern blog, Discord server, MeWe group, Facebook group, Twittering, and that Instagram shite. So, what to talk about today? Well, over on the blog side, I was mentioning how the Alexa ranking of the Tavern, which is like 171K or so, but is, 49,000 in the U.S., which is actually better than RPG.net's U.S. ranking. Woohoo! Yes. So, it's a little bit of how far you all, the folks that have been reading the Tavern and listening to the podcast, have gone to support the Tavern, but it also shows you how far RPG.net has fallen. Worldwide, yes, they're 100K they're placing, so they're definitely better placed than a Tavern. But in the U.S., and I think that part of that is that, what did they say in, there's a movie where they go, never go full retard. They went full social justice. And I think that at least their American readership, their U.S. readership, would rather not have that as part of their gaming experience. You know, I understand it's tough. Listen, we don't live in a vacuum, right? We live in a larger world, but we also live within our own neighborhoods, our own communities. And there's a lot of stuff going on that's important to people. But just because it's important to you doesn't mean it's important to the person rolling dice next to you. You know, we're all... So you can separate your gaming experience from your politics and social issues. That is exactly what Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg did. Her closest friend on the court, and they were close friends even before the Supreme Court, Justice Scalia, they were political opposites, and yet he would crack jokes and make her laugh to the point she had to pinch herself so she wouldn't laugh, because he was whispering the jokes as they were hearing stuff at an appeal. They got along very well. Why? Quite simply, she stated that they got along as well as they did because when they hung out together, they didn't discuss politics. They didn't discuss the law. They discussed things that they could share in common and they could enjoy in common. That's why I think it's very important as gamers that when you are spending time with other gamers, and whether that's online, whether that's in person at the game store, whether it's a gaming group, whatever, that you realize that the ties that bind us are much more significant and important than whatever differences we might have that go beyond gaming. You know, I think the gaming community is one of the most generous, giving, understanding communities I've ever been a part of. And I really hate to see, I guess, the disturbance in the force, especially with the U.S. elections coming up in about a month and a half, a little bit less. I'd rather see us experiencing and sharing our shared interests, not the topics that divide us. So, that being said, there are people on Facebook that I have unfollowed. And I feel bad doing that, because people that generally follow me on Facebook are not following for my political opinions, that's for sure. They're following for my thoughts on gaming, for the podcast, for the blog. but I can't read their current thoughts. Whether they're left or right, it makes no difference if what defines you is politics, and I can understand why it does. I understand it. Don't get me wrong. I have empathy because these are most certainly between the pandemic, rampant unemployment, people working from home, people not even going to college because college is shut down or they're remote, and you have all this other stressors, and then other issues go on, and all of a sudden it's a tinderbox. I understand it. I understand. I too was young once. I too got involved in protests in my college days. So I understand. But I think it's important that as a gaming community, we remember that we hear about gaming. We're not, again, I'm not saying that the other stuff doesn't exist. It certainly does. And it's certainly important. But it's not what we're here to share. Right? And this actually wasn't even what I was going to come on and talk about. I was going to start talking about, like, oh my God, the huge amount of traffic this podcast has gotten over the last 2 days is amazing. Yesterday's episode's already been listened to or downloaded. It's been up for less than 24 hours. It has like 450 downloads. Because I was talking about Hasbro is bringing back HeroQuest. And it's exciting. And I backed it. Probably won't play it with anybody besides my wife and my niece. But I backed it because that's part of my youth. I do remember it. I never owned it, but I remember playing it with my friends, and it was awesome. Folks, in the midst of a pandemic, as I have been saying, use your common sense to keep yourself, your family, your friends, your loved ones safe. If you need direction, seek professional medical advice. Ignore the talking heads on TV. Aside from that, be safe, be well, God bless, roll those dice, and I will talk with you all tomorrow, God willing. Later, folks.